Hey, this is Trav here, and this podcast relies on the good people who help support this podcast on Patreon, and I'd like to give a big thank you to Bill, Bree, Brendan, Grant, Lisa, Mog, Dan, and Paula. Thank you so much, and here's the show. Hey, welcome to episode 175. Touch on the Mind Boat, the slow-moving boat ride into the winter, cold chill of my mind. This is Trav Nash speaking, and thank you very much for listening to this episode. I really do appreciate it. Today's show is a series of small poems that I've written that, again, is trying to make sense of all the senselessness around at the moment. I've been feeling a little bit off, and my head needs to have a little bit of a reboot, a rethink, and maybe a reassemble of all those pieces that have been flying around. And this is the best way that I can accomplish this. So it's a good show, and all you need to do is sit back, relax, think about what are you going to do after this podcast as we set sail. Static. A head full of loose wires and static. White noise and the smell of disinfectant. No memory, and no words that can fill in those missing correct answers. No automatic fail. An exclamation mark at the end of the word panic. Blinking lights out of sequence. One goes out and the rest will soon follow. Wide out all those black, dark, mysterious clouds. The empty is flooded in bright red and danger. Neck spasms and bone cracks, but still no relief. No longer a life of subtle, dull pain, but a full-time job of finding ways to mute all the static to a manageable level. Impaired hearing and a slur of words that slip on thin ice. Auto-corrected and no longer saying what it really means. Spider webs catching vibrations that throw the body in and out of itself. The unnoticeable now becomes the only thing left to notice. The edges are all frayed from all the controlled burnings. Dark smoke clouds bend walls to let their friends in. Lungs become temporary housing. Hearts made out of paper are used to scribble down security code to online accounts. Information travels by air, dissolves, and becomes one with everything and nothing all at the same time. Busy train stations no longer wait for you. Highways that will lead you on and never let you off again. Long night drives to places that were never meant to be travelled. Daydreams are the only place left where they can't charge you for parking anymore. Hunting rifles are handed out to the hungry and broken-hearted who seek revenge on unfollowed friends. Fingers turn in on themselves. Rigor mortis is set into place. You play dead, while the wolves close in and wait by the front and back door. All that tasty flesh that you have left to give. All those decaying feelings you swallowed and still waiting to digest and dispel. You're cursed, and you're okay with that. Another nail to the palm, so you can hang up there and get a nice view of the burning cities. Wires that are tangled and become live and dangerous. Glowing fluorescent blue teeth are backed into corners, while they hiss and bite at anyone who tries to fix the bad reception. The glow is a flickering memory that was long forgotten, but wants to keep in the mind's eye. Doors that appear on the ceiling now unlock, because it's always good to have an escape plan. So you fall from the floor to the ceiling, and we're all gone again. Free fall into the detuned sound and vision. There is only you now, the way you have always wanted to feel your whole life. Make the most of the peace and quiet. It can be so loud sometimes that it can cause brain damage and frequent migraines. The more white pills you wash down with fluoride and blind faith, the better. All those white coats and machines that mix the right amount of everything together to cause chaos and disorder. For the streets are too dangerous to walk anymore. The ATMs have gone on rampages, beeping, spitting, card chomping, disgruntled killing machines. Form unions and raise flags. Demand equality and civil rights for future generations to witness the rising seas and temperatures. Scorch this earth and give the final season an unsatisfying ending that nobody online seems to like. I wish to complain. I wish to see someone about my head, my mind, my state of being, my current living conditions, my lack of knowing where to go next. There are only dark, still early mornings, head full of static, sleep stuck in the eyelids, pillows drenched in worry and anxious thoughts, sheets that cannot protect you from the worst things imaginable, frozen by fear, birthed into fear, taught by the fear, and always seem to be more comfortable when it becomes a storm that uproots your safe place and launches you into the grey dark prisons of no more. Your final words will fall on deaf ears. Dark empty spaces grew too fast in numbers, erasing all the light. The night is now everlasting, and the mind is set to sleep mode. All of this will be forgotten and replaced with the new update in time. Streets of strangers, mysterious nobodies, shapes that distort and lose all definition of age, turning blind eyes and keep moving, not making eye contact, don't let them see you. As soon as they do, you're done for. So your head's down and you move forward. Head up and you wish you could leave the ground and be free in vast empty spaces where nobody's left to walk into you anymore. Manic relics of something that was born and died but kept on living to infest this world. To mark the sidewalk with and kick down bus stop signs. Disillusioned and forced to flee the scene of the crime. The trail of dead and broken minds will always lead back to you, the source of all the senseless juvenile acts of rebellion. Flags of conformity are waved as another one gives up and crosses over to the other side, until their numbers grow too large and we can never possibly hope to win. And we savour the few things that are left that still have some kind of meaning. Graves of heroes and villains that have been fighting each other since the start of all things no longer can remember why they're fighting in the first place. There is money to be made in keeping the whole town on edge, but the knife is turning. The powder barrels are stacked and ready to detonate. If it's not someone on your friends list, then they are automatically suspect and must be destroyed, taken round the back, disposed of, neutralized. The threat against you, your family and your trust fund. Lay down cement over the green grass and fields of flowers of tomorrow. Build McDonald's and put a statue of an abstract representation of the natural world made out of cruel steel and iron. We are at war after all, a war against privacy, our own personal information, and basic human rights. It's not safe to walk alone at night, it's not safe to drive down the one-way laneways. We check the expiry date, check that we're not allergic to the price we'll eventually pay, check to see if we can buy now and pay later, but the ticket is punched and the ride broke down. And now we seem to be stuck up somewhere where no one can reach us. somewhere between the climb and the drop. Of course, we could climb down, but if someone saw you, it would be instantly all over. What if they found out you can't take it anymore? What if they can see you for you, the part of you that cannot cope, cannot afford to pay rent anymore, the part of you that keeps paying to live another week, trying to live in a world that doesn't even know you exist? Just battery hens that fulfill orders that can never be fulfilled. You've been beaten down so much lately, it's a wonder you stayed for as long as you did. There is no longer a bright side, just the wrong side of history. This long journey that ended in the middle of a vast landfill, the waste we produced, threw away, and wanted to forget about, is now where we are right now. Disregarded shadows of ourselves, and we did it to ourselves, because we were all out of options. The story has no last minute coming together of plot threads that will save the day at the very last moment. There can only be one way out of this, and it is head first into the walls we build around us. We willingly put ourselves into the cage with the wild animals. We were tricked into thinking we were safe, but as soon as they fleeced us down for every last cent, we're tossed aside and told to pick up another shift or die out in the street into the winter cold. Dead bodies that are reanimated to walk the back alleys and the new development suburban planning. Smiles that are disinfectant, lemon fresh decay and corrosion. Broken glass that's finally shattered into powder and freely distributed to fools who die slowly and painfully in poverty and ignorant bliss. Faces that shapeshift, masks that can be purchased on eBay on Black Friday sales. Maintain your sense of composure and a touch of elegance as you struggle to turn off the parts of you that still asks itself, how did we even get here? Were we always so lost at sea, in this fog of nostalgia and pop culture that makes us want to hit the reverse button and play back those small fractions of moments where we thought we knew what happiness was? But now the ants are in the pantry and have eaten all those emergency supplies, just as the sirens disrupted all the peace. The birds were the first to go. Where? Nobody knew, but we all wished we grew wings at that very moment and followed with them. There just wasn't enough time. The sound of fabric began to tear. Brakes screeched and plastic collapsed in on itself. Cries of help and needing of assistance. Horns and security alarms. Mobile phone batteries beeping as it passes away into black empty screens. Signs lost their electricity and turned dull and lost all their importance. A modern digression back into itself. And every clock stopped all at once, as if they all knew it doesn't even matter anymore. Because we did this, we all knew. We didn't say anything. There is no specific group we can point the finger at anymore. This has always been foretold. Read any good story, and it's always the same framework. The basic skeleton, with an unrealistic ending that we felt always sounded about right. But it always looked like a word that doesn't look the way it sounds. It was all subtle manipulation, and we were more than compliant. We were nothing but submissive from day one, and absolutely responsible for everything that tomorrow will bring. So that's it for another week. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. I really hope you appreciated it. You liked this episode. There was something there that applied to you in some way. It made you feel a little bit better or worse or something. I guess that's all I can hope for. So if you did like this episode, want to hear more, well, there's over 150 episodes completely free to download right now. Using whatever device you're using, you can find all episodes completely free. Liking and subscribing will keep you up to date when I release this episode, and sorry that this episode is a day late. You can follow the podcast on Facebook and Twitter. Leaving a review really helps. Posting this on Twitter and Facebook really helps, but most of all, just recommending it to someone. Maybe putting it in a chat message, someone else you know who likes podcasts. Maybe give them a recommendation if they like to hear people talk into microphones while weird sounds spin from left to right in their ears. You can follow me on Twitter at Nashtopia, and you can also follow my art diary on Instagram at Trav Nash Draws Stuff, I think. Or Trav Nash Draws Things. Maybe that's it. Theme music for this podcast is composed by Tim Witt, and you can listen to his music right now on SoundCloud just by searching for Tim Witt Sounds. You can also pick up his albums and pay whatever you feel like if you go to Bandcamp and look up Tim Witt Sounds, and I highly recommend that you do. This episode was written, read, produced, and distributed by me, Trav Nash, and you're welcome. So thank you again for listening to this episode. I really do appreciate it. Again, sorry that it's late. I haven't been feeling very well lately. There's something weird with my head, and hopefully I see the specialist again with follow-ups to my time in hospital, so we can perhaps come to some more of a distinct conclusion to what I think is going on. I don't deal with stress very well. I don't think anybody does, but I think some people are better at dealing with it or hiding it than I ever will be. But anyway, I hope you're doing well, you have a good week, stay safe, look after yourself. Until you download the next episode, stay safe. Peace.